Security, sensitivity, simplicity, service, and solutions. That is exactly what independent wealth consultant and financial journalist Doc Gallagher's approach to financial planning is. Doc Gallagher has helped literally thousands of his clients enjoy the safety and security of financial peace of mind by assisting them to achieve their financial planning pursuits. The mission of the Gallagher Group is to be a vehicle of God's peace and comfort to as many people as possible, helping first with their financial peace of mind and also with their spiritual, emotional, and family well-being. Creating wealth requires patience and discipline, and Doc directs his client through the process of sound financial planning and prosperity. Doc Gallagher's desire is for you to retire safe, early, and happy.
Dr. Neil Gallagher is the Zig Ziglar of finances. Okay, he's as honest as it comes. He's got a very positive outlook, and he speaks the truth.
Thank you for joining us. We're with Dr. Neil Gallagher, the Money Doctor, talking about your safe money. And I'd like to ask the doctor a few questions about money. With so many financial consultants to choose from, it's becoming more difficult to find a knowledgeable advisor that you can really trust. When checking an advisor's credentials, what are the first steps to take?
Obviously, you do want to find out how long he or she has been in the business. Ask for a lot of referrals, and ask for those referrals for referrals. What we do with our clients, we will, with the client's permission, of course, we will show previous client statements with their names blocked out, of course, with their Social Security numbers blocked out, so they can actually see what a statement looks like and see what a conservative client looks like on paper, what a moderate client looks like on paper, what an aggressive client looks like on paper. I taught in the university, I taught logic and ethics. When I taught logic, I taught critical reasoning. This was 20 years ago before I got my various financial licenses. And I am passionate on having people understand what they own. On the left side, I have them write down all the advantages of a particular investment. On the right side, I have them write down all the disadvantages. And at the end of that analysis, they can decide what investment is best for them. Marsha, I've helped about 11,000 different people, and I mean different. Every client is as different as his or her fingerprints. There's no cookie-cutter investment. That's why I want to make sure every client writes down the advantages they see, the disadvantages they see, and let them choose what's best for them. The number one question to ask a financial planner is, well, some of the questions people typically say is, how much are you going to charge me? That's a good question. Or how much money can you make for me? That's a good question. How long you been in business? That's a good question. But the number one question to ask is, if I didn't have any money with you, would you still care about me? Because people are more important than money.
We'd recommend Doc Gallagher definitely. We like the people that he's had, and we like him, like talking with him. And he's certainly given us a lot of more knowledge than we had before.
Doc, what is an investment educator? How is that different from a broker or a mutual fund salesman?
Yeah, you nailed it exactly. Mutual fund salesman is there to sell you mutual funds. And if a person doesn't believe that, when you talk to that mutual fund salesman, ask them to recommend a no-load mutual fund. They'll run from that like Dracula would run from a crucifix, because they don't want to sell you a no-load fund, even though it may have superior returns, because then they could get paid on it. A broker, by definition, is a stock broker. She gets paid by selling you stocks. In my opinion, Marcia, the stock brokerage industry is a dinosaur. It's going out of existence. People don't need stockbrokers. They can do their own research on the internet. They can call the company directly. You can call the big blue chip company these days, Shareholder Services, and buy the stock directly from if you want to own stocks. If you want a portfolio of stocks and you want someone else to help manage it for you, I can recommend some excellent money managers to you. I don't work for those companies, but that's for people who want a larger portfolio.
Wouldn't the big broker have the most to offer?
You must be repeating what you got in the mail. Because that's exactly what the literature from the New York brokerage firm says, or the St. Louis brokerage firm says. Oh, the analogy they use is, let's see, they say, oh, we're like the Walmart. Instead of going to a mom and pop grocery store, wouldn't you rather go to Walmart, where you have much greater selection of products? The challenge with that is Walmart, presumably, you get a much wider variety of products. You don't get a wide, again, I was there. I was there. I speak Thai. Nung song sam si sin ha. The reason I speak Thai is because I lived in Thailand. I was with the Peace Corps. I was there so I can speak Thai. I was there with the big New York brokerage firm. I was there with the St. Louis brokerage firm. They don't like me. Bankers don't like me either. That's why the first 2 chapters in my book are what your broker does not want you to read, what your banker does not want you to read, because that's exactly how the big brokerage firm works.
Do you want to pay taxes now, or do you want to pay taxes later? We like much later.
We were really impressed with the reception that we received and the kind of information that was provided to us. I would recommend the Gallagher Group to all of my friends.
Dr. Gallagher, what does it mean to be independent?
Independent means that I work with and for my client. My client is my only boss. That I don't have to answer to the big insurance company in Hartford, Connecticut, or the big brokerage firm in Los Angeles. I mean, I do have to answer, but it's primarily to my clients to make sure I'm doing due diligence for my clients, that I'm recommending things that are only safe with the principles guaranteed, and that can be documented. That's not marketing literature. That is documented. Independent means I work with and for my client.
Dr. Gallagher, what do you think is the greatest financial threat to Americans?
The greatest financial threat actually doesn't have to do with investments per se. It has to do with long-term care. Now, I know our guest visiting with us today is going to say, boring. Dr. Gallagher was doing okay up to that. Why is long-term care means this? The time will come in our lives where all of us will not be able to perform what's called the ADLs, activities of daily living, the things we take for granted, bathing, dressing, eating, et cetera, et cetera. Now, the average American thinks, I'm not concerned about that. When that happens, my spouse will take care of me. Have you asked your spouse? My kids will take care of me. Have you asked your kids? You're asking them to make a full-time physical, financial, and emotional commitment at a time when likely they can't. Well, I got enough money. Long-term care burns through a portfolio to the tune of $50,000 to $60,000 a year. Medicare will not pay for it. Medicaid will pay for it only if you're on welfare. That's why I call it the greatest financial threat. If you're not prepared for it, it will bleed your portfolio and you'll be forced to go on welfare in those final years in your life when you wanted to live in dignity and freedom.
So you lost $50,000 in the stock market. You go into long-term care next month and you're there 3 years, you just lost $150,000. Because in Dallas today and Fort Worth, the average is $150 a day for nursing home care, whether you're treated at home or in a nursing home.
I would definitely recommend Doc Gallagher's group, especially for the younger people. I feel that most people don't think about retirement until it's either too late or they only have a few more years and they've limited their possibilities.
Well, what is the worst investment that Americans can make?
To pay taxes. Now, I don't have any problem with paying my fair share of taxes, but I know what to do with my money better than Washington or Austin or New York or Boston does. Most folks don't take advantage of the many tax avoidance strategies that are available. I said tax avoidance, not tax evasion. Difference between tax avoidance and tax evasion is 20 years in Leavenworth. But there are many ways. Our friends who are watching can order my booklet, Tax Freedom, The 4 Ways to Cut, Burn, and Slash Your Taxes. Later on, we'll have on the screen how you can order my complimentary book, The 4 Secrets to Protect Your Safe Money. The 4 Secrets to Protect Your Safe Money. There's also a booklet that comes with that called Tax Freedom, How to Cut, Burn, and Slash Your Taxes.
Well, let me ask you a specific question. How safe are bonds?
When I was at the big brokerage firm, the sales pitch they gave me, my job was to go to my desk and my computer every morning, make 100 dials, and get you or somebody else to open up an account with me. If I did that every day for 3 years, presumably I would have $10 million under management and have about 1,000 clients. And the pitch they gave me was, Doc, tell them that stocks are for risk and for growth, bonds are for safety and income. Wrong. If you look at a long-term chart of bonds, bonds react sensitively to interest rates. So bonds do have a whipsaw up and down cycle just like stocks do. They react at different moments in the cycle, but they still can be very, very volatile. So bonds are not the place that not the so-called safe place that your brokers told you that they are.
Well, what about CDs? You can't lose money with CDs, can you?
Yeah, CDs, those are certificates of depreciation. That's why bankers don't like me. Those certificates of depreciation making 1 or 2%, unless they own something called a CD annuity. CD annuities are basically CDs that are owned, issued, and guaranteed by insurance companies. They tend to pay 2 or 3 times more than bank CDs. In some states, they're free from lawsuits. They're free from immediate taxes, free from probate. They do provide lifetime income. Now, I don't work for an annuity company. I don't work for an insurance company. You asked me a question. I'm telling you, if you're going to own a CD, you probably should look at a CD annuity as opposed to a bank CD.
For example, only yesterday we had a client come in, and he didn't bring a very large sum of money, but to him it was a large sum of money, and it was $30,000. And he says, you know, I've got this money at this large bank, and that $30,000 is paying him a whopping 1.5% interest. Well, he's first not pleased with the interest rate, but what he doesn't understand that we like to share with folks is this. At 1.5% interest rate of that being quote-unquote taxable income, and if he's in a 33% tax bracket, he just lost another 0.5%. So he's only getting 1% on the return. Well, inflation is 2%. So what you're doing when you have money in a certificate of deposit, you're not even keeping up with inflation.
A lot of my friends have lost money in the market. Of course, they weren't clients of yours, Doc, but is there any way to keep that from happening?
Yes, in the future, again, during the go-go days of the bull market, I mean, brokers get on the phone, and you know about the mutual fund scandals. I don't have to name the companies that are out there. These are household names. And those brokers get on the phone, and they pushed mutual funds and variable annuities. A variable annuity is just a tax-deferred mutual fund, just as volatile. They push the mutual funds, they push the variable annuities without regard to protecting a client's principal. I know I'm repeating this, but this is fundamental. It's kind of like when Vince Lombardi took over the Green Bay Packers. He got the men in the locker room, held up a football and said, "Gentlemen, this is a football." Well, this is fundamental. Protect your principal. You can protect your principal, and you can have above average returns if you're working with somebody independent who's looking out for you and not for that big brokerage firm or mutual fund company or bank. Fellow investors, trying to do your own investing, trying to do your own retirement planning is like trying to do your own appendectomy. It's too close and it's too painful. You know, they say in the legal profession, a lawyer who takes his own case has a fool for a client. I've seen so many clients make big mistakes because they tried to do it themselves. Get a professional.
Thank you so much for visiting with us, Dr. Gallagher. I can't wait to get some more information.
Thank you for inviting me, Marcia.
You're welcome. We're visiting with Ronald Coleman, Doc Gallagher's partner. Ronald, you were in the financial services businesses for 40 years. Why did you come out of retirement to work with Doc?
When I first had an opportunity to meet with Doc, I just found that we both had very similar philosophies about wanting to help people and being independent so that we could represent them and not a particular company. And that way we could use the knowledge and experience that we both have to educate our clients and to represent them the best way that we could. What do you need to look at for a long-term care policy? There's 3 simple things. Number 1, you want to know where it will cover you. You want it to cover you at home, you want it to cover you in a nursing home, you want it to cover you in an adult daycare center or an assisted living. Number 2, the price is based on your age. It's like insurance. The older you are, the more expensive it is.
Ron, retirees want safe lifetime income. How do you and Doc help them with that?
Well, that's a good question, Marcia. But actually, there's several different ways that we can do that. One example is we had a couple who were needing income, but their money was in a variable annuity, which was not good for them because it was losing value. So we were able to introduce them to an independent money manager who was able to secure that income for them.
Thank you, Ron, so much.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome.
I've never met a man that was more knowledgeable about finance than Doc, and he's been working at it so long. And I guess the proof is he's told so many people and shared it with them that they too have become successful. So yeah, he's all right. He's a man.
What we did is we left who we previously were with, and we went with Doc Gallagher and took his suggestions, and so far we're very well pleased.
Dr. Gallagher, he's amazing. He's got folks in there with a tiny nest egg, but his attitude again is, however much you have, it's enough with which to start again. And that's very impressive, that he cares about the person, not only their finances, but regardless of how much or how little you have, he still takes the time to see you, talk to you, and consult with you.
So he's very reliable and informative, and I've enjoyed working with him.
Doc Gallagher can bring you the security, sensitivity, service, and solutions you need concerning your current financial situation. You can contact Doc for a free consultation at 1-800-434-4DOC and find Doc on the web at www.docgallagher.com. Our mission is to be a vehicle of God's peace and comfort to as many people as possible, helping first with their financial peace of mind and also with their spiritual, emotional, and family well-being. Doc wants you to retire safe, early, and happy.